Here's a well-known poem which spoke so strongly about our feelings for nature, it became indelibly stamped on British culture. So much so, it now seems a bit passé, tired through overuse and less relevant. So let's translate it into Quangoese. I wandered lonely as a cloud. To assess landscape character and destination benchmarking for a proactive approach to outdoor recreation following principles of sustainable tourism and to prevent the erosion of tranquility as defined by CPRE's Tranquil Areas Survey and Regional Planning Guidance RPG 13, I went on my own. That floats on high o'er vales and hills. My survey quadrants were within the SSSI, AONB and National Park, and according to the policy ER2, were of landscape character subtype 5A, ridge and valley. When all at once, I saw a crowd. An NVC, that's National Vegetation Classification Community, NG5, species-rich grassland, Carnosaurus cristatus, Centuria nigra. A host of golden daffodils. Seasonal dominance of Narcissus pseudo-narcissus. Beside the lake, lakeside transition to reed swamp vegetation, NVC M13, but alkaline fen, therefore a SAC, special area conservation. Beneath the trees, ancient semi-natural woodland WD1 covered by a UK BAP, Biodiversity Action Plan, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, waving and flapping rapidly and persistently in an irregular manner. MAGIC, that's multi-agency geographic information for the countryside. I kid you not. In 2002, the world committed itself to arresting the decline of biodiversity by 2010, and now it's 2020. A great ambition, but the erosion of biological diversity is happening faster than climate change around the world, and yet has far less political purchase. I suspect this may have something to do with language. Biodiversity is the variety of life, right? And in our culture, we've learned to associate variety with choice. Can we do without certain species? Can we favor some species over others? Does the end justify the means in conservation? Native is better than alien, rare is better than common, red squirrels are better than gray squirrels. These choices sound more like preferences than values. Scientists may reject the question, but it's the term biodiversity which makes space for them, which creates doubt about what it means. The words we use to name things also describe how we care for them. So what's in a name? Surely a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Here's that quote from Romeo and Juliet. What's in a name? That would, well, come on, you know, Juliets are pretty high maintenance and they get cut first, so I have to do both parts myself. What's in a name? That which we call the rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo doff thy name, and for that name, which is no part of thee, take all myself. Juliet was a Capulet, and Romeo a Montague, and their tragedy lay in the brutal class system of Veronese society. In any rigorous classification system, naming is attached to valuing. And so no, only the rose carries the meanings and values we place on roses. It smells the way it does, and no other thing that smells as sweet will ever be valued as a rose. In the taxonomy of biological sciences, names are not given to individuals, but to species, genera, families, Montagues and Capulets. Specific aggregations of individuals. Biodiversity has inadvertently become a quantitative view of life and appears the preserve of an expert elite which describes the interactions of living individuals by using the language of economics. Competition, energy expenditure, strategies, dominance. For the bean counters, nature is a resource, and biodiversity is now hitched to notions such as ecosystem services, and natural capital, grand consumerist ideals. I often get the feeling that environmental communicators are piping a tune that's been paid for by institutions and corporations obsessed with the dismal science, turning nature into commodities, consumables, services, resources. And if anyone sends me another press release which reads, "There are winners and losers in climate change," I will be moved to violence. It may be that we care for the difference between things because diversity is strength, and we need it to sustain ourselves and be what we are. Although living things do not exist in complete isolation from each other, and even their existence can be said to depend on the relationships between them, it's hard to care for abstract ideas of diversity when our impulse is to love this particular fern, this bird, this seal. Do we love them because they're wild? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? Panthera tigris, charismatic megafauna. From over 100,000 tigers roaring around the world when Blake wrote that poem, there are now only a few thousand left. In fact, there are more tigers in zoos in Texas than there are in the wild. The forests of the night may stretch impenetrably to the horizons of our imagination. The tiger's fearful symmetry is now framed by CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, the red list of IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, 199 country BAPs, Biodiversity Action Plans, WPAs, Wildlife Protection Acts, and many other acronyms to do with protected areas and NGOs, non-government organizations. Despite this, immortality is not a word we would now think has got anything to do with tigers, however brightly they burn. Wild, as a quality of nature, has a greater cultural resonance, a poetry, but still falls foul of fears about nature running out of control, of answering human intervention in natural systems with violence. Increasingly, the conservation community is engaged in managing the nature we like for fear of the nature we don't like. And its communicators are unable or unwilling to tell the difference. International Year of Biodiversity shows the focus on diversity will not in itself help life on Earth. We environmental communicators need to reclaim a language which we can communicate, which can inspire a partisan advocacy for nature by culture. Because if we can't speak up for nature, who the hell will? Thank you.